Hi everyone, a special edition today here. We're from Seoul, Korea on Friday, August 16th. I'm with a longtime friend and I've been a fanboy of yours for, we're talking about over a decade now. So Mark Edge is the host of Free Talk Live.
One of them.
One of the hosts of Free Talk Live and one of the founders of Free Talk Live as well, I think.
Right. I think you can, Ian founded the show, but I was on the first one of them, so I think you can safely call me a founder.
Yeah. And it's a libertarian-themed, voluntarist-themed radio talk show on more than 150 stations now?
200 now.
200 radio stations across the United States.
Ranked the 26th station in the U.S. 26th talk radio program is the
26th most popular talk radio program?
Yeah.
Wow.
Important is the term they use, but I don't know what that means.
Okay, well, it's definitely more than 26th most important in my life. It's been one of the most important talk shows in my life, and I've been a fan for over a decade now. And it was on Mark's show, Free Talk Live, that I heard about Bitcoin for the very first time from Mark and Ian talking about it together. So.
Yeah, I think I'm reasonably certain, no one has come after this claim yet, and maybe somebody will listening to this, that we are the first media in the world to discuss Bitcoin. And by that I mean not like a Reddit post or something like that, but like a real media organization. Because Reddit didn't discuss Bitcoin, somebody discussed Bitcoin on Reddit. And that we beat out pretty much everybody, and mainly because of our listeners. So what happened was on December the 28th, 2010, a listener whom I happen to know because he's visited us. His name is Jeremy West. He's from Australia. He's from the United States, living in Australia. And he called in about this new currency. And we talked about currencies a lot.
December 2010.
Yeah.
Right? That's a
2010.
long time ago now.
Yeah. It's, the pizza had been bought, but not much else had happened by then. You couldn't do anything with Bitcoin at the time. So we began, just this guy called in and talked about it. We were talking about alternative currencies all the time. We'd talk about alternative local currencies like the Berkshires, and we talk about people attempting, like the Liberty Dollar, attempting to use silver and gold for currencies. And we believed in a value-backed currency system, and as opposed to fiat currencies created by governments where they can inflate the currency in order to bomb people around the world that they don't particularly like, or whether they like them or not, it doesn't seem to matter. Just people that are convenient to bomb, so they can build more bombs, so that they can bomb more people. But whatever, things really changed, say from World War II, where they told all Americans to buy U.S. bonds to support the military. And then in, I think it was 2002 or 2003, the press was asking George Bush, well, what can we do to support the war effort? Because everybody wanted to go after Iraq, because God knows there were weapons of mass destruction there or something. And George Bush told all Americans to go shopping. In about 60 years' time, something dramatic changed in the American economy. And I can tell you what that is all you have to do is read Creature from Jekyll Island and research what fiat currency is. But basically, they took all the gold backing away from the dollar. So anyway, you can see where our biases were to start with. And then Jeremy West called in about Bitcoin. So we were as skeptical as anybody, if you can imagine.
Especially in 2010.
Right. What? Sounds like a terrible idea. So, we talked about it then, and then what was then the head developer of Bitcoin, Gavin Andresen, was one of our amplifiers.
That means he was sending money to Free Talk Live because he was such a big fan of the show.
Right.
As was I at that time as well.
Yes, indeed you were, and an advertiser on Free Talk Live. Thank you so much for keeping us going. He sent me an email and said, hey, do you want to get together and talk about Bitcoin? And my immediate answer was, yes, I want to talk about Bitcoin. But he was an amplifier. If he wanted to talk about his kids, I would have met up with him. It would have made a difference. But I really did. I wanted to get together. So he drove up from his home, which is, not too far away from where we're from, Keene, New Hampshire. And we had lunch. He calls that lunch now the most profitable lunch of his life. But we had it at the Thai Garden on Main Street in Keene, New Hampshire. And he explained to me how math backing made more sense than gold backing, and how something could be scarce without being physical, and that you can't shove gold drachmas through the vent ports in your computer and have them come out in North Korea, but you can do that with Bitcoin. And so I was all right. I offered to sell him some podcast ads for his magic internet money. he did not take me up on it. But in that moment, in January 2011, we became the first ad venue in the world to accept Bitcoin for ads. And I would say that we're probably still, at least among the the ones with that accept the most cryptocurrency for ads. We get a lot of our ad sales are done in cryptocurrency.
Certainly one of the most longest running, though, for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the guys from Let's Talk Bitcoin, God love them, asked us for some advice on when they got started, and happy to give it. I'm not competitive in this particular arena. I want people to consume the media that they want to consume, and I'd be happy if you'd listen to Free Talk Live for a little while and check it out. But you're going to find out we're libertarians pretty quick.
And you never know what other great idea you're going to hear next time, too, right? So I heard about Bitcoin here, but maybe there'll be another interesting something.
Who knows? You certainly put a lot of time listening to Free Talk Live to get the Bitcoin nugget out of it, but. After the meeting with Gavin, we talked about Bitcoin, and I think it was another time after that that you said you first, because you heard about it, and then you heard about it and got excited.
Yeah, I wish I could remember more clearly. I'm sure both times I heard about it on Free Talk Live.
Yep.
One time it was just some little tiny mention,
yep.
And I Googled it for just 30 seconds, then moved on to the next thing in my life. And then you mentioned it again on the show, and I remember very clearly I was eating like Raisin Bran cereal and listening to the show as I was eating breakfast. And then I Googled it at the same time, and that's when I put the pieces together. This is like gold, except for that you can send it anywhere in the world instantly, fast, cheaply and reliably.
Yeah, remember when they used to call Bitcoin digital gold?
But they used to say it was better than gold because you could send it anywhere,
right.
And now they're just calling it a store of value like digital gold. But
right.
The reason I liked gold was gold
has
money.
I never know what to call Bitcoin anymore because now there's several Bitcoins as far as I'm concerned. They're all Bitcoin. They're forked off of the same thing. I am, as you can tell, a fanboy of Bitcoin.com, and Bitcoin.com advocates for Bitcoin Cash, and I do advocate for Bitcoin Cash. And the reason is because when I got into this thing, when I started this, the people who were pushing for it, they were saying things like, we're going to have micropayments where somebody can send a penny or a nickel or a quarter to anybody who writes anything on the internet, and then the people can be funded. Journalism, which is dying right now around the world. Newspapers are going belly up all over the planet. Journalism was going to be supported through the masses, that they were going to be able to give a small amount to somebody who wrote an article, whether they liked it or not or whatever, and then that was going to be really exciting. Also, somebody in sub-Saharan Africa or Southeast Asia someplace could in some manner or another do business with me directly, which means that a poor person, presuming they had a computer, could...
$20 Android phone even.
Right.
I don't
know.
Which is a computer. But
it is a computer. But somehow they could do business with me, and we could set these areas economically free because of the way that their governments control them is through their economy. And if we could create something that could set them free in that way, what would that do for mankind? So these were the two selling points that for me, the one third selling point is that governments would not be able to create money out of thin air to buy, specifically for me, bombs and munitions to do what they wanted around the world. And I found that to be extraordinarily motivating, these three things. Now, these things could happen with gold or silver, but they weren't happening. Gold and silver had a long time to put together this
thousands of years. Yeah.
And the resurgence didn't happen. So let's try Bitcoin. And that's sort of what we did, is we began to push it. And then Roger, we pushed it a little bit, and then Roger got excited about it and began pushing it more. He changed his advertising for optical transceiver sales, which wasn't doing real well on the radio. It wasn't really designed for that. He just was really just supporting us, but he didn't want his name said. Always was very adamant, we're not talking about my name. And then he got excited about Bitcoin, and he said, well, let's advertise Bitcoin. And then shortly thereafter, you became Bitcoin Jesus. You're putting out videos, people are talking about you, and it became a big deal. So then shortly thereafter, after that, Roger began to demand that he be able to pay for his ads in Bitcoin. And it was one thing talking about it on the air. It was another thing entirely when I have to go to my wife and business partner and say, well, are we going to accept Bitcoin? And they're like, what can you buy with it? Well, there's porn, VPN services, alpaca socks, whatever it might be, there wasn't much. And what there was at the time was a company called Crypto Exchange. And I have no idea who these guys are.
Some Australians, I think.
Oh, is that so?
I think so.
And I don't entirely remember how this happened, but something occurred where I sent them, this will show you how long ago this was, 1,000 Bitcoins for $1,000. And I was so proud of myself. And it was worth that at the time. That was, it was at $1.
Going rate, yeah.
Right? And I think I went to the bank and got the money, but I don't know how that would have occurred in sort of in remembering it. But it did. I mean, I remember taking the money and I splayed it out. I fanned those $100 bills out in front of my wife and I said, this is real money. This is not porn. This is not VPN services, right? And then I, did the same thing with Ian, my business partner. And we began to accept Bitcoin for ads. And now we accept cryptocurrencies of all sorts, at least ones we can go on exchanges and trade for things that we're going to use. So, sometimes people will come to us with new ones that you can't trade anywhere, but, we have launched
give it some
more than one.
consideration.
Yeah. But at the very least, we're not just going to dismiss you.
The big ones, I'm guessing, people have BTC, BCH, and Dash. Does that sound right?
As far as what they pay with?
Yeah.
So Dash advertised with, for a time, we did their, whatever that system is where you make the presentation, and for a year they advertised with us.
I forget what it's called, but yeah, Dash has an interesting governance system. Yep. It's definitely interesting.
And now they're much more excited about Venezuela and things going on there, and hopefully they can do something.
More power to them.
Venezuela needs some help. I know you've been doing some things in Venezuela too, at least
Sure.
donations.
And I think we've talked about this too. Like, I'm a fan of Bitcoin Cash, but I'm a fan of anything that works. And
Yep.
if it works, I'll like it. If it's useful, I'll use it. And Bitcoin Cash meets those characteristics. So does Dash. So there are lots of things out there. So.
Right. So let's talk about usability for a second. In Keene, New Hampshire, where I live, my business partner Ian Freeman and a variety of his buddies have gone around to lots of businesses and made it so that we can accept directly. I mean, not any intermediary, anything like that, through AnyPay.
Another business set up by Free State Project members in New Hampshire, Derek J. Freeman and I forget
Steven
Zeiler, that's right.
These two are a pair of geniuses, by the way. And you can buy, go to Local Burger and buy a nice, delicious cheeseburger. You can go across the street to the newsstand. You can get a newspaper for anybody who still reads those things, and a bottle of cranberry juice, and I don't know, whatever else they're selling there, a candy bar. You can go just a few blocks down and get a haircut.
Does the Thai restaurant where you and Gavin had lunch accept Bitcoin yet?
No, I've never even considered talking to them.
That sounds like a really fun historical place to get on board with AnyPay, and you can tell them just how important their restaurant was to the evolution of Bitcoin.
That is funny. You're right. I should absolutely talk to them. I have spoken to the owner one time years ago, and he was, a very, very nice man. So as far as usability goes, I go there and I can use anything I want. I find out from AnyPay who I'm getting, Dash back or Bitcoin back, Bitcoin Cash back, whatever the situation is, and they give a little bonus to anybody who uses that particular currency. So, obviously I'm going to use the one that has the bonus. Either one of them seems to work great. One that there's a difficulty with is BTC, and it's because sometimes the fee's 25 cents on my Edge wallet. Sometimes the fee's $1.25. Now, when I'm buying an $8 hamburger,
don't pay an extra dollar.
Do I want to pay $9.25 for that hamburger? And some people
$8 hamburger.
some people will say, yeah, absolutely, I'll pay $1.25, and I would have to call that person a maximalist, because if you're willing to pay the extra $1.25 to use a currency that it isn't currently being designed to be used as a currency. I mean, I don't know why I called it a currency. It's a store of value, seems to be what the people are calling it. And it looks like it's operating like a store of value right now. I mean, Bitcoin BTC has been having some nice runs recently, and the altcoins aren't doing as well. But I tend to think that with the U.S. market showing strong signs of a recession, that the next bull run is on us. And in that bull run, I expect the alts to perform well. I can't make a prediction. I am not a financial analyst, and if you listen to financial analysts, you're getting lied to anyway. So,
and you're paying them to lie to you.
You're right, paying them to lie to you. What are you doing as far as hoping to, make money on the next big thing? People want to know that, Roger.
I think the next big thing that's important to me, and there's more. And it's easy to say when you already have some money. It's easy, oh, there's things that are more important than money, but like they really are. And so like, yeah, all right, I made some good money with my involvement in cryptocurrency.
Yep.
But now I want to use that money to make the world a better place because this is the only world I get to live in as well. And so things like that, of course, I want to invest in medical technology to help humans live, if not longer, or if not forever, then at least longer.
Right.
And we were just talking about it at breakfast this morning. One of the companies I invested in, like, you can literally give yourself an ultrasound from your iPhone or your like Android device. Like,
wow, that's pretty cool.
Incredible.
So what can you find with an ultrasound? Well, cancer? A baby?
Potentially, yeah. And actually, right now you have to have a prescription to buy it. They're hoping to get it to where you don't need a prescription at all.
Just go to Mexico.
But like, here's an example of this that I didn't know. Like, yeah, you can go to Mexico. Is
Screw
one option.
Screw all their prescriptions.
You can order it on the dark net for Bitcoin Cash is another option.
There you go. If only they hadn't shut down Silk Road, then we'd have a free place where we can do business.
But now actually there's even more darknet markets than ever before, as my understanding, with more trade happening.
The only one I've ever been to was I went to Silk Road. I wanted to take a look around. You know, they're selling handbags made in
China.
Botswana or whatever. I don't know. But
yeah, I haven't been to any of the new ones, but I visited the original Silk Road and found it incredibly fascinating. But one example of how this ultrasound in your iPhone can actually make people's lives better, I guess lots of people, and I forget exactly what sort, maybe it's diabetes or some medical condition, and they're not able to feel when their bladder becomes full. And then it just gets fuller and fuller until all of a sudden they have an accident. And so as an adult, they have to wear it in a diaper because they can't feel when they have to go to the bathroom. But if you have an ultrasound on your iPhone, you can just like ultrasound yourself.
Do I have to pee?
Yeah, see if your bladder's full or not. And if it's looking full on the ultrasound, you should go and use the restroom. And like, how incredibly inconvenient would that be to be, worried about peeing yourself as an adult? Whereas now your iPhone can let you know, hey, you don't need to pee yourself anymore.
Right. Well, anything that gets you out of adult diapers is
wonderful.
Yeah, it's
right?
a great invention.
Wonderful.
So you're looking at medical devices in order to make the world a better place. You're not looking at this point to how am I going to make my next billion or whatever the hell.
Hopefully, you can do both at the same time, right? Okay. Those are the best business opportunities, is where you can make the world a better place and make money at the same time. And so another example of a business I invest in is a stem cells technology and research lab, because I think that has a really good potential to make the world a better place on that front as well. And I think they'll probably be accepting Bitcoin Cash and other cryptocurrencies soon at that one as well.
Speaking of which, if you have a business and you want to open yourself up to an extraordinarily large and loyal audience, you need to start accepting Bitcoin Cash. And once you are accepting it, then you can spend it for advertising at freetalklive.com.
And get even more people that can find out about your business on more than 200 radio stations.
Yeah.
When I first started listening, you guys were on less than 100. So nicely done.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was
I think it was like 50 something when I first started, like high 50s. Does that sound right?
It absolutely sounds right. I just remember back when we had 26 stations, and I thought to myself, I can quit my day job and do this full time. If it hadn't been for Roger and another angel, we probably would have been too soon. But nonetheless, we managed to pull it off, and we're still there.
It's been great, and I think you've influenced the lives of, at least tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, or maybe even 1 million plus people at this point.
I would say that it's pretty safe to say that we reach 500,000 people per month on Free Talk Live, and one would presume some of those people are not all unique, but some of them are. So we've certainly reached millions of people. We've probably got 20 million downloads from our podcast, and I think the biggest names of listeners are Roger Ver, and that's a big name in a smaller pond. But Kane from the WWE, he said that
he's an amplifier as well, or was at one point?
I don't know if he's amplifying right now, but he did. When we were doing a fundraiser for St. Jude Hospital, children's research, cancer children's research, he doubled the
matching
funds to anybody who donated. Nice of him. Which every once in a while I'll come out with a project like that. I always ring you up too. Roger helped me to put together a program where we built an orphanage and then bought some land for an orphanage in Uganda. And now the kids, I have planted some sugarcane, and the sugarcane, it's a crop. It'll take about 14 months, 16 months to mature, and then they can cut it down, and they're paying their school fees with it. So they're getting food and school fees out of the amount of land that they have, and they're managing to be solvent. Where at one point they were running around begging, now they're farmers. They've got jobs. And it's exciting. So
and talk about helping people who need it the most. It's hard being a kid, period. Imagine being a kid without parents. Like, wow. So if you want to help, help somebody that needs help, find an orphanage in the town or country where you're at, and give them a helping hand.
Yeah, one thing I would say is they use the term orphanage. So there were, they've got 40 kids that they help, but some of those kids have parents. They just, it's more of a community center, and then there's, about 10 orphans that are in the area. But nonetheless, they call it an orphanage. It's a community center with some orphans that are there, and I don't want to mislead anybody, but at the very least, helping 10 kids. I mean, it's cheap comparatively. If you're trying to build something like that in the United States, it would have cost us, $3 million or something. But over there in Uganda, not so much.
Yeah, thank you for doing that, Mark.
Well, thank you for helping.
my pleasure as well.
Couldn't do it without people like you.
So, anyhow, if you haven't tried Bitcoin Cash or cryptocurrencies in general, go and give them a try. Like, they're literally one of the best tools the world has ever seen to bring more economic freedom to the world. And more economic freedom leads to a faster pace of economic growth. And more economic growth raises everybody's standard of living in every country all over the world. And this is a fantastic tool we have to bring that to the world. And
I think it's one of the hopes that we have, really. One of the areas that you can focus on is cryptocurrency. I don't know whether it's development or you come up with that great idea to get adoption or whatever it is, but I was really expecting more adoption earlier than what we have now, and I think that probably the what I call World War geek.
It's a good description.
The big schism that occurred where some folks couldn't see the value in raising the block size, and other folks didn't want to do the other ideas like segregated witness and that sort of thing. So I think it was sad. I think it broke.
I think it delayed the adoption of cryptocurrency around the world by years and years and years.
Yeah. Because I think it took some of the momentum out of it.
Absolutely.
There was the big run with ICOs, but ultimately those were just.
All those would have happened on Bitcoin too if they hadn't limited the block size and reduced the amount of data that you could put in the operator. All the tokens and all the stuff that happened on Ethereum would have happened on Bitcoin. In fact, Vitalik wanted to build Ethereum stuff on top of Bitcoin,
right.
But he looked at what was going on with the scaling war and the arguing over the block size of Bitcoin. So he said, well, I can't build it on that, so I'll start my own. So all those tokens, all that ICO stuff you saw happen, Vitalik would have done all that on Bitcoin if it hadn't been for these Bitcoin core developers that need to pick up an economics book, plain and simple. So.
Do you remember the color coins they were talking about? Odom, I think, was doing it.
There were quite a few, colored coined proposals. So.
And that was what that was all supposed to be. It was all going to be on one blockchain. It was all going to be integral. But I don't want to wax conspiratorial, but if I was trying to break cryptocurrency, I would have done what was done to Bitcoin.
Yeah, censorship and then division of the community. So they succeeded. And I think it would be naive to think that governments aren't paying attention to this and aren't worried, currently we have this magic money printing machine where they can print as many dollars as they want and the whole world uses them. If that gets taken away from them, they're in a really tough boat. So I don't think it's a conspiracy theory to think that, and look at the other stuff they do. I mean, they give people syphilis on purpose and let it progress, and they test all sorts of horrible things on people around the world. If they're willing to do that, why wouldn't they be willing to intentionally disrupt the adoption of cryptocurrency around the world? I don't think that's too wild or outlandish to say that. So.
Right. So if you believe Jeffrey Epstein killed himself with no outside influence, then you should believe that story, song and dance. And if not, then consider that cryptocurrencies were going to be the most disruptive force for governments, since the internet. And
the disruptor got disrupted.
Yeah, it got disrupted. So.
Yeah. And it's interesting, so to go on that same vein a little bit more, almost all the early adopters who were hardcore libertarians, the vast, vast majority of them supported Bitcoin being able to scale as money for the world. Okay. Gavin Andresen, the guy that talked to you, he had said in a public tweet, Bitcoin Cash is what he started working on in 2010, a store of value and a means of exchange. And Bitcoin Cash, of course, is what I got involved in. And almost all of these other guys, I haven't talked to Jeremy West recently, but I suspect he's a big Bitcoin Cash fan because he was using Bitcoin as money to buy and sell things and pay people's bills and do that trading. And it's a very, very common reoccurring theme.
Yeah, so. That was, I believe, what people's ideas were. I don't want to besmirch anybody. I mean, I know that lots of people made money in the rise of BTC. I learned about Bitcoin on it was 27 cents when Gavin and I were sitting across from each other at that restaurant. So he paid me for his lunch, which was $9. So it was about 45 Bitcoin. I lost half of that in the mybitcoinwallet.com debacle. Go look that up, kids.
You have to be around a long time to remember the My Bitcoin wallet.
But nonetheless, yeah, I mean, we did okay. But I understand that some people want their BTC to turn into, lots of money, and I want that for them too. But it seems like the people who want BTC to work now were the ones that didn't get in ahead of time, that they heard about it and they're like, poosha. They didn't want to hear anything. And then it seems like, from where I sit, that the people who like Bitcoin Cash were the ones who liked what BTC was about originally.
Economic freedom for the world.
Yeah, so that's what I want.
Okay. I guess that's a good place to end it. So.
I don't want to be too long.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mark.
I'll talk forever. I do a 3-hour radio program at freetalklive.com.
So tune in every day from what hour to what hour Eastern time?
Well, Eastern time is all I can tell you is 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time. I tried remembering it in like Zulu and 24-hour time in London, but I haven't. Yeah, I think it's from
freetalklive.com.
Yeah,
is the website for
that's
more
right,
information. And I've been a listener for a long, long time.
And you don't have to listen live.
Yeah, I don't think I've almost never listened live. It's almost always.
You've been on live.
I've been on live, yeah, but I always listen to the podcast. You can just put it right there to your cell phone and listen whenever it's convenient for you. So anyhow, check it out. I highly recommend it. I'm really thankful to Mark and his partner Ian and all the hosts at Free Talk Live. Another special shout out to Brett Vinoy of Free School Sucks Project. I really have enjoyed his podcast over the years as well.
Yeah, he's been on Free Talk Live many times.
He's been a host a few times as well, yeah. So anyhow, thank you guys. See everyone next time.